From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Frank Fired Up here on the Mixed Up Sports Network, coming to you live here on this Thursday, the 17th day of November 2016. And boy, we've had a little bit of a late start today. Do apologize for that, but November has flown right on by. We're a week away from Thanksgiving. We will not have shows next Thursday or Friday, by the way, because of Thanksgiving. So, I mean, we're getting close. Big day today with the NBA. We actually take a look at the NBA today. ML Baseball had their awards given out last night. More specifically, the Cy Young Award, which that caused a little bit of a stir. And you have, of course, NFL Week 11 starting this weekend, college football Week 12, college basketball continues this weekend, getting into their second weekend of the season. So there is a lot to do today, but we'll begin today with the New York Knicks, who won last night by a final score of 105 to 102 against the Detroit Pistons at the Garden. They're now one game under 500 with the chance to make it 6-6 on the season this evening, against a Washington Wizards team who is limping into the game this evening after losing to the now 2-9 Philadelphia 76ers. If you take a look at last night's game, though, for the Knicks, last night's game really should have showed you something. And what it should have showed you was that this is no longer Carmelo Anthony's team. This is not Derrick Rose's team. It never was going to be Derrick Rose's team, but anyway. This is Kristaps Porzingis' team. 35 points last night. He shot 23 for 22 last night, and the best part of it is everybody else got their shots. Rose went 7 for 15. Anthony went 9 for 17. The biggest problem is Courtney Lee went 2 for 12, which that is a massive issue, especially for a supporting role shooting guard when you have Holiday sitting on the bench. Justin Holiday, who played just about 4 minutes less than Courtney Lee did last night. That, and you also have Brandon Jennings as well. That and Holiday shot 3 for 7 with 9 points. But as I said last night, you could see now that this is starting to become Porzingis' team. When you get guys like Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony sitting back and go, "Wow, that was an incredible performance tonight," which it was. Career high 35 points, 7 boards, 4 of them on the offensive glass. He out-rebounded himself on the offensive glass than he did the defensive. 4 offensive rebounds to 3 defensive. 6 for 7 from the line. He played 40 minutes. That was a plus 16 on the game. I mean, Porzingis took over last night. And when you get a guy like Derrick Rose who sees that, and when you get a guy like Carmelo Anthony who sees that, and Anthony saw it last year, so there's no excuse for Anthony, but when you get a guy like Rose who is just as gifted passing the ball as he is scoring it. Brandon Jennings more so. Jennings shot 0 for 4 last night, had 7 assists in just under 17 minutes. If they keep feeding the ball to Porzingis, Porzingis could lead this team, and he could lead this team a long ways. I mean, the guy's 7'3", and last night you could see it in his face. He had that killer instinct last night. You could see it in his face. The big problem you could take away from last night for the Knicks was that you really didn't see any form of a structured offense. What you saw with the Knicks last night was as close as you're going to get to a competitive pickup game in the NBA. And what I mean by that is, all right, Porzingis is the hot shooter. We'll get it to him. Anthony's shooting well. We'll get it to him. Now Rose is starting to get it hot. Let's get it to him. You didn't really see an offense. You didn't really see an offensive system show itself. Which, for the Knicks, that could continue to be an issue, especially on nights where there is nobody that's hot. On nights where Porzingis is not shooting well, either Carmelo Anthony's hurt or he's not shooting well. On nights where Rose is hurt or he's not shooting well. So the Knicks need to find a genuine offense, a genuine offensive system, and not just find the hot hand, get it to the offensive player that is producing at that given moment. It's going to take more. It's going to take a lot more. But right now, as you sit, the Knicks are a half a game out of the playoffs. Beating the Detroit Pistons last night. I understand we're talking about playoffs just 11 games into the year. After tonight it'll be 12. But this is kind of a gauge. You're halfway through that period of gauging where this team is. Some people have given them 15 games to try to gauge where they are. Others have given them 20. I've given them 20 to kind of gauge where they are. And right now you're a half a game out of the playoffs. Right now, which the last playoff spot is held by the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 5-5. So they got a game in hand on you. But you're a half a game behind the Pacers, who you have a game in hand on. And you play a Washington Wizards team who, once again, you're finding dysfunction within the team between between Wall and Bradley Beal. You're coming off of a bad loss to the Philadelphia 76ers last night, and this is a team that was close to the playoffs last year. Now find themselves starting this year at 2-8 in the home portion of a back-to-back. Knicks are coming in a back-to-back also. But if you're the Knicks, you have to look to strike, and you have to strike hard and fast against this Washington Wizards team, which right now is on a 3-game losing streak. You'd feel a little bit better if you were playing this game at home, since the Wizards are 0-5 on the road this year. Their 2 wins have come in front of their home crowd, which is where they are tonight. But as I said, you're halfway through this examination period, and right now they may have finally realized what everybody else has already realized, and that is Kristaps Porzingis is going to be the one who takes this team to the next level. Not Carmelo Anthony. Sure as hell isn't Derrick Rose. It is going to be Kristaps Porzingis, and after last night, I'd be very, very interested to see what kind of game Porzingis has this evening in Washington. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're back. The Major League Baseball awards had come out yesterday. Tonight is the night for the MVP award. You have Mookie Betts, Jose Altuve, and Mike Trout. For the American League, for the National League, you have Chris Bryant, Corey Seager, and one Daniel Murphy out of the National League. My guess would be, I would say it's going to be Mookie Betts out of the American League. And the reason why I say Mookie Betts is because Altuve and Trout, while they had good years, their teams didn't make the playoffs. I mean, it should at least be a requirement, no? If you want to at least be considered a for the MVP award, your team has to at least make the playoffs, I feel. So I mean, right there, it goes to for me. It goes to Mookie Betts. For the National League, I would honestly say Chris Bryant. Not just because the Cubs won the World Series. I understand Daniel Murphy was hitting all year long, but he kind of stopped in the playoffs. Corey Seager, again, I didn't really see much out of Seager this year, even though, I mean, I saw them 6 times this year, on 6 separate occasions this year with the Padres on local television. But Corey Seager, I mean, when you think, I mean, he's not the name you think of when you think of the Dodgers. I would honestly go Chris Bryant. I mean, he had more big hits this year. He had that big home run in Game Five to really start to get the offense churning for the Cubs. And really, it was really after his home run in Game Five that the Cubs really never looked back. I know that one only tied the game, but that was the one. That was the home run that really sort of kicked off the offense for the Cubs, not just in Game Five, but in Game 6 and 7 as well. So I would expect it to be Mookie Betts and Chris Bryant this evening. I would be surprised if it was anyone other than those two, to be perfectly honest. The National League Cy Young Award winner, Max Scherzer. Scherzer now becomes the 6th pitcher to win the Cy Young in both leagues. Now, a lot of problems with both Cy Young Award winners. Rick Porcello won the American League Cy Young Award. Scherzer pitched very, very well this year, I'm not going to lie. But when you put that up to Lester and, to be perfectly honest, more Kyle Hendricks, I would honestly think Hendricks would have taken this. I mean, the guy had the lowest ERA in the league. His batting average against, I think, was the lowest in the league, if I remember correctly. I believe his batting average against was the lowest in the league. Forget about the World Series with him. He pitched incredibly well this year. Kyle Hendricks. And to give it to Scherzer when really the only thing that Scherzer was dominant with this year was strikeouts. I mean, he led the majors in strikeouts really from pillar to post all season long. I understand you're putting him up against just the National League, but he really just, I mean, it was really just him with strikeouts. He was 30 strikeouts clear of Verlander and 31 clear of Jose Fernandez. Did you look at wins? Okay, he was a 20-game winner this year, so give him that. Lester won 19. I believe Hendricks is one of the 3 that won 18. Oh, 1 second here. Hendricks won 16. Okay, so Hendricks won 16, which put him tied for 5th in the National League. Hendricks had the lowest ERA. Lester had the 2nd lowest ERA. Scherzer was 8th in ERA. He was the last guy to have a sub-3 ERA. So ahead of Scherzer was Fernandez, Tanner Roark, Johnny Cueto, Madison Bumgarner, Noah Syndergaard, Lester, and Hendricks. Innings pitched, Scherzer. He had 128 and a third. Lester had 102 and 2/3. Hendricks had 190. And you say that because the national, and he pitches like that because, one, he doesn't throw a lot of pitches, And two, the Nationals don't have a middle of the bullpen. Runs allowed. I don't understand why MLB's not letting me just flip this. Scherzer allowed 77. Runs this season. And Lester and Hendricks aren't even on the list for runs allowed this year. So the two of them both led up less than 64. Let me try to find them. Lester allowed 57 runs. Hendricks allowed 53. Strikeouts, obviously, you give that to Scherzer. He had 284. Lester had 197, so he had 90 less strikeouts. Hendricks had 170. Opposing batting average. Well, it was Scherzer. Well, Arrieta was the league lead, but it was Scherzer had a sub 200 batting average against. Hendricks was 207. Lester was 211. So when you put it up and when you actually look at it, I think they actually made the right call for the National League. But the American League, I mean, you run through Porcello's stats, and we'll just run through them really quick here. For the AL, Verlander had a 207 average against. Porcello was 230. Verlander with 254 strikeouts. Porcello 189. ERA. Verlander 304. Porcello 315. Wins, Porcello with 22 and Verlander with 16. To be perfect, I think they went on the wins. I honestly think they went on the win. They went strictly based off of wins, because the other categories I would look at would be WHIP, average, batting average against, strikeouts, strikeout to walk, ERA, wins. They all go to Verlander except for wins. They all go to Verlander except for wins. I don't see how Verlander did not win the Cy Young Award this year, other than the fact that he went 16-9 and Porcello went 22-4. That's the only. I think because Porcello was a 22-4 this year, and not 16-9. I'm pretty sure that's why Verlander did not win the Cy Young Award. Literally every other stat that means anything it's Verlander. Manager of the year, you got Terry Francona and Dave Roberts. For the Rookie of the Year, American League, Tigers right-hander Michael Fulmer wins Rookie of the Year. Corey Seager went unanimous for Rookie of the Year. Mets Curtis Granderson wins the Roberto Clemente Award. So good for him. Silver Sluggers. At every position, we're going to go from catcher to DH in the American League. Salvador Perez, Miguel Cabrera, Jose Altuve, Josh Donaldson, Xander Bogaerts. Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Mark Trumbo, David Ortiz. For the American League, Wilson Ramos, Anthony Rizzo, Daniel Murphy, Nolan Arenado, Corey Seager, Charlie Blackmon, Yoenis Cespedes, Christian Yelich, Jake Arrieta for the National League. Gold Gloves, you have Salvador Perez, Mitch Moreland, Ian Kinsler, Adrian Beltre, Francisco Lindor, Brett Gardner, Kevin Kiermaier, Mookie Betts, and Dallas Keuchel. For the National League, Buster Posey, Anthony Rizzo, Joe Panik, Nolan Arenado, Brandon Crawford, Starling Marte, Ender Inciarte, Jason Hayward, okay, and Zach Greinke. The Aaron Award winners, David Ortiz and Chris Bryant. And if you're looking back to the Defensive Player of the Year for each position throughout, and these are Major League Baseball numbers. Defensive Player of the Year: Buster Posey, Anthony Rizzo, Dustin Pedroia, Nolan Arenado, Brandon Crawford, Brett Gardner, Kevin Kiermaier, and Mookie Betts. Reliever of the Year award: Orioles Zach Bryton. In the American League, for the Dodgers, Kenley Jansen. For the National League, for the American League, Outstanding Player Jose Altuve, Outstanding Pitcher Rick Porcello, Outstanding Rookie Michael Fulmer, Comeback Player of the Year Mark Trumbo, Outstanding Player Daniel Murphy, Outstanding Pitcher Kyle Hendricks, Outstanding Rookie Corey Seager, Comeback Player of the Year Jose Fernandez, coming off of a season where he only played half the year last year because of Tommy John surgery. The year before that. Best overall defensive player this year given to Mookie Betts. Best defensive team overall given to the San Francisco Giants. And if you want to look back to the postseason, Ben Zobrist wins the World Series MVP. ALCS MVP goes to Andrew Miller. NLCS MVP goes to Javier Baez and John Lester. So if you're looking for the MVP awards, again, the MVP announcement is tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern on the MLB Network. Mookie Betts, Jose Altuve, Mike Trout. For the American League, Chris Bryant, Daniel Murphy, Corey Seager. For the National League, again, my assumption would be Mookie Betts and Chris Bryant. So with that, we will take a quick commercial. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. We will get into NFL Week 11 when we return. Don't go away. All right, we're back after a crazy week 10. We go into week 11 for the NFL season. This evening, you got the Saints versus the Panthers this evening. This one actually might be a pretty good game. You have the Saints who have absolutely no defense. You have the Panthers who have absolutely no direction. This one actually might be halfway entertaining, and not for reasons of playoffs, not for any reasons like that. But tonight you may actually have a decent Thursday night game this evening. The Buffalo Bills taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati should be close. The Bengals, they are a tough team. They're a tough team defensively, and when they get working on offense, they can be very, very tough to beat. Pardon me. The Cardinals taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. This is the perfect game for Minnesota to sort of break out of their free fall. Arizona's offense is not great, especially with Carson Palmer leading the way. Bradford has done well. The guy's got 11 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions this year. This is the perfect game for the Minnesota Vikings to break out of this tailspin, to break out of this free fall that they have been in this season. And there's no better place to do it at home against a team that is really falling themselves. The Chicago Bears playing the New York Giants this week. Really, this game, if at least for the Giants, this is a game that really should be straightforward. Between this week and next week, you have a very, very good chance to go 8-3 on the season. You're playing two teams with a combined record of 2-17. The Bears having both of those wins, so they're playing the Browns next week. This is the perfect opportunity for the Giants really to cement a playoff spot. 8-3 has to be what they're looking for. They welcome the Bears into MetLife Stadium coming on Sunday afternoon. The Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. This is really going to be a test for Tennessee. They're 5-5 this year. They just beat down the Green Bay Packers. Now they have a chance to go on the road against a very, very good quarterback in Andrew Luck. Already has 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions to that, and 2,600 yards already. Try to slow him down. Try to stop that big passing offense for the Colts. And Mariota's no slouch either. The guy's got 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. DeMarco Murray is almost at 1,000 yards at just under 200 carries. So this is going to be a very, very good test for the Titans, and we will really see now if the Titans have arrived in the NFL. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. This is a no-win situation for the Buccaneers. You're playing Kansas City, who have been the comeback kids this year with the way they came back in Week 1 against San Diego and the way they came back last year in the face of sure defeat against Carolina. That and Arrowhead Stadium is just such a hard place to play in if you're an opposing player. I really don't see Kansas City. I really don't see Tampa Bay putting up much of a fight in this game. The Steelers hosting the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, that's really all that needs to be said about that. Did I say Cleveland hosting the Cleveland Browns? I have a feeling I did. It's Cleveland hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now that I've said that properly, we move on. The Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. This game is a 7-point spread in favor of Dallas. I understand Prescott's been really good. I understand Dallas has been good. But Baltimore has beaten every team in their division. So they've beaten Pittsburgh last week. They just barely held on against Pittsburgh last week. They've beaten the Browns, which, I mean, anyone could beat the Browns. And the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a tough team. I don't think they're as I don't believe the Cowboys are going to lose this game, but I believe this is good. This is going to be a lot more of a fight than I think a lot of people think it's going to be. The Jacksonville Jaguars in Detroit to take on the Lions. This game again really relies on Jacksonville's ability to hold games late, because when in the games that they have been competitive in, they really haven't been able to hold the games late. Detroit has already made a couple of comebacks this year, so we'll see how that goes. The Dolphins playing the Rams in LA. The Dolphins coming in with a full head of steam, 4-game winning streak, looking to make it 5. The Rams will start Jared Goff this week. Most likely, more likely than not, for the rest of the season. First game for Goff, I don't expect it to go entirely well. When you're facing Ndamukong Suh on that offensive line, I understand he hasn't been as impactful as he was with Detroit, but still, you cannot discount Ndamukong Suh at all. That and that offense and that running game for the Dolphins has been very, very good this year. The Patriots playing the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara. Tom Brady has only thrown through his first interception of the year last week. He's already got 1,600 yards. Kaepernick, I mean, sure, he's done a couple of good things, but, I mean, come on. Gronkowski not expected to play with that punctured lung that he suffered last week. Not quite sure what play he suffered it on, but that game, that should be Patriots all the way. One of the better games this week, you have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks coming off of that big win against the Patriots. Meanwhile, you have the Eagles coming off of a win against the Falcons. This could be a barn burner here between the Eagles and the Seahawks. The Packers taking on the Redskins. This is the Sunday night game. I'm surprised how many people are going, and very confidently going, with the Washington Redskins. I understand they're a good team. I understand they really haven't lost since week 4. But their time is coming, and so is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers has still thrown 22 touchdowns this year on 7 interceptions. It's been the rest of the team that has let him down big time. Michael's run for less than 500 yards on 117 carries this year. Jordy Nelson has been their big receiver. He's got 50 receptions for 635 yards and 8 of Rodgers' 22 touchdowns. Rodgers statistically is Aaron Rodgers, but when you look at the way he plays, it is not the same Aaron Rodgers that we've seen over the last couple of years. I still think that is going to be good enough to beat the Washington Redskins. I think an off Aaron Rodgers still could be enough. I understand this game is in Washington, but I would expect the Packers to win this game and get to 500. For Monday night, you have the Houston Texans in Mexico City to take on the Oakland Raiders. This game should be pretty straightforward again. The Raiders are just a lot better of a team than the Houston Texans, especially if they catch the Texans on an off night on offense. This could be a very, very difficult game for the Houston Texans, and with Osweiler's inability really to throw the ball, period, it's making DeAndre Hopkins out there pretty much irrelevant. Meanwhile, you have Derek Carr, who's got Cooper and Crabtree, and I mean he's got targets out there that are very, very valuable to him. So we'll go with the underdog picks here to close out the program. Looking through here. I'll take the Titans over the Colts. Again, I think the Titans are going to have a lot of momentum and 47 points on the Green Bay Packers. They're going to have a lot of energy and a lot of momentum going into this game. That and forget about that they were leading 21-0 at the end of the first quarter last week. I will pick the Titans in this game. The Colts are favored by 3. I'll actually take the. Ooh. I'll take the Eagles.